You ready to roll? You ready to do this?
Other than a plaque, what do you get?
Bragging rights. I'm not sure. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't either.
I get to go up and talk about it a little bit tomorrow.
Yeah.
Still got to figure that out.
Nah, you'll do just fine.
Yeah. You haven't prepared a speech?
I'm working on it.
Nah, dude, just go up there. Just get up there and just do it, right?
Just wing it.
Don't listen to him. That's the way he does it. You get up there and just start rambling.
I know.
I got some stuff.
Yeah. You want to talk about your history, your philosophy? What do you...
I only got 5 minutes, so it's got to be quick.
Just 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's all right, great. So you kind of, you want to talk about the award, talk about things that we got there, how we got there, but how do I keep from going into the weeds? I keep on. I'm taking notes and I'm just keep going into the weeds with all this stuff. So
yeah.
I got to figure out how to keep
like
it down
what?
to 5.
What does going into the weeds mean? Like, what are you getting into that you feel like this is irrelevant?
Not that it's not irrelevant, just way too much detail. So I got to figure out how to shorten it down. I talk too much.
Dude, I can barely. He barely talks.
You do, yeah.
Once I get going, it's hard to get me to shut up. So.
Well, I'm excited for you. All-Star of the Year for Ratchet and Wrench. You know what I like about it? Is for the longest time, this was, Chris is going to kill me. This was a very cliquey event, right? And a lot of people...
The perception was that it was very cliquey. Try to keep it politically correct here. Neutral. It was believed by some, to be very cliquey.
But I'm just saying, like, people like me and you typically weren't in the runnings for things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you were a runner-up, 2021.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that was, like, it felt like up until those past couple of years that it was particular organizations that were involved. And it's cool to see that it's very diverse right now. Lots of people involved.
I think they chose you as a runner-up the year that they were rioting in the streets. And they're like, nobody's going to show up for this thing anyway. So who do we put up?
Yeah, that's probably true. Makes sense. That was intense. There were furries. And so it was
furries and rioting or just furries?
It was both.
Really?
Yeah, it was the moment that I knew Chris Messer was an all right guy. Because I'm going to tell you what, we're standing in the front lobby of this hotel in Minneapolis, right? And all of a sudden, this like entire line, I mean, it's like down the whole front of the hotel of furries comes walking in the door. And Chris is standing at the front door, and I see the look on his face when he sees what's happening. And I mean, it is just like this, oh my God, right? Like, what do I do now? And so, it got funny, and we just ran with it. Did you know that furries have a particular odor? If you get stuck on an elevator with them, they do not smell nice. I'm just telling you.
You have to imagine the suits are very hot.
Yeah, and it was like 90 degrees out. I know there were riots. I walked through the middle of some of them, and those people were perfectly kind to me.
Did you go that year? Have you been to?
This is my first Ratchet.
Really?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So some big things have been happening for you lately, right? A lot of traction, a lot of movement. It's things that we had talked about for a long time. I think most listeners know that Tom and I are good friends. But a lot of things that we've been talking about for a long time have been happening for you. And one of the things that I really aspire to that you do that I want to eventually get to, and it's something I'm working on right now as we speak, but I don't want to say you're completely hands off with the shop. But the staff has taken the shop, and the staff does what the shop does on a daily basis.
Right.
You're involved, you're engaged, but not like you were, 5 years ago even.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I will say, the last month, 2 months, I have been more hands-on than
Have you?
in a long time. And only for a reason to we've kind of plateaued. Okay. And, Mike, my service manager, very good friend of mine. Just was struggling a little bit, needed help, a little bit of direction. So he asked me to kind of come back in and kind
help,
of oversee, help, and guide him some more. And kind of area that I've struggled with is providing the right guidance for that role. So we've worked at that and kind of, I should say, picked up on a bunch of holes.
Right.
So we're working on that, and it's definitely helped us get pointed back in the right direction.
That kind of 30,000 foot perspective.
Yeah.
Would you care to share some of the holes that you illuminated when you came back?
Process stuff. You know where I learned. You know what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all in with Rick's philosophy.
Yeah, for sure.
And things like parking lot scheduling.
Yeah.
We schedule to our capacity, and that kind of went out the window. It was something that it's not always perfect. We work on the averages, right?
Yeah.
And we had a few instances where we ran short on some work. Well, that just triggered this whole thing of now we need to bring more cars in.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we went from 3 cars a day per tech to 4, sometimes 5. And, I understand the thought process. Mm-hmm. It's okay. I'm helping to prepare and protect, keep my guys working, but it overloads them. It doesn't work for the philosophy that we use and the averages that we work on. So,
and it can spiral a little bit, right? Like 100%. It's easy to get into a thing where we start trying to make changes because something's not working, and we panic and we start making too many changes, or we make the wrong change and then it has a consequence, and so we change something else, and then that has a consequence, and we get away from like that base core operation of this is how we do business, right? Sure. And that's something that I've ran into for sure. Yeah. What else? What else did you?
One of the other big things that we ran into is, again, every day we have a new it's a new day, and we start over with our work. So in the morning, every job that's scheduled for that day gets evaluated, diagnosed, inspected, and we move on to the next. When we're done with that, then we get back to our carryover from the day before.
Yeah.
It started that, we just have a little bit of work to do on this one yet. We're just going to keep this in and wrap this up. And, the technician mindset is what brings that thing to a screeching halt and messes that up every time. Yeah. They think, I can just get this done. I can just, wrap this up real quick and just, it's going to be fine. Then I can move on to my new stuff, get that old stuff out of the way. What they don't take into consideration is we have a responsibility to get to our clients by noon with an update as far as what their car needs. And also we're working on deadlines with our parts deliveries and our parts ordering. So we move everything back half an hour, and a half an hour never is a half an hour. Right. It always turns out to be 45 minutes or an hour and a half or something like that. And all of a sudden now everything's pushed back. We missed our parts sorting deadline, so it just messes up the whole rest of the day, and not even just that day. It just goes into the following day, and it just unravels. So getting back to that, this is a hard. We will do this, and there's no deviating from this. And obviously, we sell a 20-hour job. We schedule that. We're not jamming in new appointments when somebody's trying to do a 20-hour job. So they go through, they wrap up on Monday, they go right into it Tuesday, and just keep on going until they're done. But when we have scheduled jobs, that takes priority. That has to be done first.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's definitely helped out a lot.
Right. Back to that centering thing. And, I relate to that because I've got 2 technicians, one that sometimes goes through some stuff personally, and then another one who was just trying to buy a house, right? And 2 days from closing, the mortgage broker calls to do income verification on them, right? And his went through no problem, but his wife was terminated the day that they called to get the income verification. Wow. And so believe it or not, they called and they were giving the income verification, but it was 0.6 hours below because she had a health issue. So she ended up in the hospital. And it was 0.6 hours below 40 hours. And so they didn't qualify for the loan anymore. And they had to move out in like a week.
Wow.
And so we're human beings, right? And we have emotional responses to things. And so guess what? His performance went haywire, right? And I connect with that because that downhill slide, it affects everybody in the shop. Because now this technician's behind. That means that I have another technician who is now definitely behind too, because I have to put additional work on them, and it throws the whole flow of the shop off. And if you don't have something to center you to bring it back to, it's really hard to get the shop back engaged and flowing again if you don't have that true center that you come back to.
Yeah.
Was your service manager a tech?
No.
No.
So just gotta say it's influence from the rest of our team.
No, the techs,
yeah.
Techs don't get it. I have not found a good way to communicate that. You tell them, but they don't grasp it. I mean, they can understand it intellectually, but without getting on the phone and talking to those customers and realizing it's 11 o'clock, that car hasn't been looked at, and then that conversation you're having to have the customer, and what that does to your sales opportunities tank. Yeah. Because now you're past into 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Now they just want their car back.
Yeah. And
they haven't even heard what's wrong with it, and they haven't game planned. All of that gets pushed back because that tech wanted to just wrap up that job.
Yeah.
They don't understand. I haven't found a good way to communicate that with the techs. They all know it. They all understand it. They don't quite grasp it until they get in the front counter. And I don't know if it's hey, you're going to spend a week at the front counter just so you can deal with this nonsense.
Yeah.
Just experience it.
Yeah. I don't know what a good solution to that is.
I think that was something that really woke Noah up. Because Noah had written service before, but he's writing service this week. Mm-hmm. And he sent me some messages saying like, whoa, I might have been wrong here. Yeah. I might have been a little pushy.
Yeah.
Right? Because the front counter is a lot.
It is.
And you're dealing with a lot of people and a lot of telephone calls. So, I mean, completely get it. And over the past couple of months, I've been talking Jeff out of a corner a little bit from time to time with his current employer because he's been extremely frustrated about the process and the flow of the shop, and things aren't going like they're supposed to. Yeah. And his is a little bit different scenario, but I think techs see this one track, right? And the goal is to fix the car. It's like, why are you getting in my way of fixing the car? I just want to fix the car.
Right.
They don't understand the nuances that we have to deal with when managing the clients and managing parts and managing other things. Now, that's not to say that in Jeff's case, he's all wrong, right? Like, I'm not
Are we just not articulating it properly? I mean, you could say there's nuances to it, which is 100% correct.
Well, there's something to be said about over-communicating. And my mind's kind of scattered, but there's a book that I just finished up. I can't even think of the name, but they talk about one of the strong key points is to over communicate your values, your mission, and everything, and maybe that's the answer. Just keep on pounding that in and until they get sick hearing it.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
And I have to say, it's kind of something that I've almost been working on in the background just to make sure that our values are communicated to them and constantly in front of them. Because I mean, we got a great team. You guys all got a great team.
Yeah.
It's not there's nobody out there that wants to purposely mess things up for you.
For sure.
It's just that they have this deep ingrained mindset, and they may just it just slowly comes out over time that it's like, well, and they work to and it just sways your thinking and your thought process and everything. And so you start to, okay, well, let's just do this. We'll just do this once. And with the working on the carryover, a few weeks ago, I mean, it kind of really came up and bit us hard. Monday morning we come in and there's I remember it as clear as yesterday. There's a Mercedes sitting on the lift jet. And, I come out, I kind of join in on the morning meetings. We have one for the advisors, one for the techs. And 15 minutes later, that car's still in the lift. All right, well, maybe his jobs didn't show up or something like that. Hour later, it's still on the lift. So finally, it's like, and I'm trying to. I don't know. Let me check. And we come to find out that it was a miscommunication. They thought that we only need to do X with 15 minutes worth of work or something yet. Well, in reality, that part wasn't even there yet, and there was other stuff that needed to be wrapped up on the job. Around, they broke something.
Yep.
Well, there we are at 10:30 in the morning. We started at 7:30,
and now we're really backed into a corner.
Yeah. So, and it's nobody's fault. We're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But that really brought it out to light and just kind of made it this is what we do, and we're not deviating from this process.
I think in Jeff's case, right, because there's some similar things to what you're saying and hearing what he experiences, right? And I think that having a coach is key, because like what the coach does is it settles and it gives us a direction, right? The coach says, hey, here's what we're working on, right? And I'm working with Cecil right now on some stuff in my shop, and it's okay. We're going to do A, B, C, and D, but we're doing A first, right? Let's get through A.
Right.
And let's make sure we get A right. And so what I watched Jeff going through is a shop owner who's going back and forth and saying, no, we need to do this. Oh, well, why didn't that happen? Oh, my God, we need to do this. And it's just like this constant slew of, and I keep going to Jeff saying like, hey, dude, slow down and try to understand what he's trying to accomplish. What is it that he doesn't like about where he's at? Right. Well, he says it's the revenue, and he says it's the clients aren't getting this, and he says this, and he says this, and this is the problem, and that's the problem, and this is the problem. I said, dude, somebody's got to slow him down. Somebody's got to settle him down. Mm-hmm. He needs to focus on one thing at a time, fix it, and put something in place to solve the problem. Right? And I think that's what is so important about having a coach, especially as an owner, to say, hey, man, like, stop. Let's just deal with this one thing. Let's just fix this one thing.
Right.
And especially when you're looking at a number and you say, I should be hitting this number, and everybody around me is hitting this number. I must not be doing something right if I can't hit that number. Now, David, on the other hand, David doesn't really care. David's like, whatever. Number.
Just roll with it, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, if you don't, you'll stress yourself out. I would have lost it on that car still sitting there 3 hours later. I wouldn't have.
There would have just been a little beanie floating through the shop, jerking back and forth through the air, screaming and yelling. I don't know if you saw that video, but so many people were like, man, we always knew David was crazy. I'm so glad I don't work for him. I'm like, y'all don't understand. That was just like his animated joke. But so many people are like, I told you he's a piece of garbage.
Nobody said that. What are you talking about? Get out of here with that. It was yelling about an air filter. Somebody got upset over $52 for an air filter. I was just making the point that this thing was made, planted the trees to make the paper. They pulled the oil out of the ground to cast the plastic, got shaped, shipped halfway across the world, and now it is being professionally installed, all for $52, and you're going to complain about the price. Get out of here.
Sounds like it didn't pre-qualify as
customer. I know, right? Exactly what happened.
Kurt, what happened with your discovery conversation?
What's that? No, we just had a podcast where you don't do the discovery conversations. You just give away the free diag. You tell them, hey,
yeah,
we do free diag here. Come on down.
You only estimate red stuff. You do free diag.
We're not being sarcastic. It was interesting. I could see. I'm already doing 80% of what he's doing. The only difference is I charge for that 1 hour. He does not.
And he talks to his clients. You don't talk to yours. You just send them an email.
We talk to them at drop off.
Do you?
Yeah, but I don't want to know, like, hey, what's your pet's name? I got to write this down. Do you do that?
Yeah.
See? I can't do that. It seems so, like, disingenuous. I'm sure you mean it. I wouldn't mean it. Like, I don't care what your pet's name is.
No, David says that. Hey, I don't care about your dog. Please don't tell me about your dog. I don't need to know why your dog's shit in the back seat. I don't care.
I can tell they have dogs because there's dog hair everywhere inside their cars.
You know what makes it even better? You know, when... So, you know, I'm not at the counter anymore. Rarely do I get on the phone and, geez, nobody wants me on the phone. So,
Yeah.
But having Kylie's our CSR.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Okay. But having her on the phone, having Samantha on the phone, things like that, and they hear those little details and they act upon them. You know, they talk about their daughter's birthday. Well, all of a sudden we're getting birthday card or birthday presents for them, you know, and you know, they talk about something going on and we act upon that. Yeah. Whereas me, when I was at the phone, at the counters and on the phones, I mean, yeah, I would know that, and I'd want to. I mean,
but I was just trying to survive.
I wanted to do it, you know. But it's just, man, I'm going 30 different directions
for sure.
So it's great to have somebody else who, you know, kind of takes charge.
Women are much more likely to listen to that and to truly care about what the person's saying. It's not that we don't care. It's just that they care in a different way and they see that differently. My wife tells me all the time, I don't ask the questions that she would ask. Now, I always just hear that and chuckle and say, well, because I don't care about those things, right? Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but she's got a pretty valid point that the things that are important to her and the things that are important to most women, we don't necessarily connect with that. Mm-hmm. But
this is, I hate the whole dog and pony show. I absolutely do. I can't go full transactional. It just bothers me too much. But at the same time, like, dude, you're coming in to fix your car. Like, do you want me to fix the car or not? And if not, fine, go away. Go get your car poorly fixed somewhere else.
But like, if somebody asked you a question like, what's your birthday? You would just be extremely upset. You would hate that if somebody
it would bother me. Like, why do you want to know?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. But I guess my point is like a lot of people, and my wife included, and a lot of people that come through the shop would probably appreciate someone showing that gesture of kindness.
Why?
And you're just a miserable human being.
Dude, is this a transaction? Like, I'm buying something from you. Why do you want to know my birthday? So you can make me feel good about buying. Like, if I didn't feel good about what I'm buying, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't even be here. Like, this would not be happening right now.
I just think it's
I hate the happy birthday emails.
I think it's just about a connection.
Like, you know, you buy, I don't know, you buy a cup from some company and then they start sending you like their newsletter. It's like, okay, fine. The newsletter's fine. I like those. Sometimes you copy some of the copy off of it and it's whatever. But then they're like, hey, happy birthday. It's like, you don't mean that. This is just a automated email.
No, sorry.
You don't care. Like, does it really matter? You don't care that I don't care.
But I mean, that's just
7
it. Is that
billion people on this earth? There's a lot of people having a birthday today. I'm sure you want me to feel special. I don't. A lot of people are going to be born today. A lot of people are going to die today. Who cares?
We'll get you a death day card. Go ahead and predict it. I just think that more people appreciate it than not. And I think that women ask more questions and build more connections with other human beings in that setting than men do.
Maybe. I don't know. Is that what I need to do? I need to hire someone, a woman that cares.
I mean, maybe you could just get Juan to care just a touch more.
No, he's like, that's what I appreciate about him. Nothing bothers him.
Except
like I get all like amped up. Like, oh, we gotta get this. There's a fire. Somebody put out the fire. He's like, ah! He doesn't. He's like, it'll settle down. It'll be fine. Like it'll burn out. No, yeah, but I go get a fire extinguisher? It's like, it's fine. Let it go. You sure? Yeah. All right, I'll be back later. And then he was right. He was right. I shouldn't have freaked out. But, like, so he's very much the opposite, where I freak out and he doesn't.
Yeah.
But we're both dude, I don't care about your dog. I don't care. I mean, it's cute. The dog's cute. And so it's like, you pet the dog. That's it, though. Like, I'm not going to send you toys for Fluffy.
Well, I mean, there's lots of different ways to do business, right? You just talk about. I'm not sure who you were talking about. That sells only the reds and.
Oh, it was
things
Mike
like
Allen.
That. But
yeah, we'll throw him
Yeah,
under the bus.
definitely.
This is Mike Allen.
So, but yeah, I mean, and he's a successful guy, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's many different ways of doing things, and hey, you don't like the dogs, that's all right.
No, I don't like that answer, though. I don't like we can all, listen, I can also scam old ladies and be wildly successful scamming old ladies. Does that make it okay? No, don't be like that. No, I'd be like, some old ladies, they got enough. No, it's wrong.
They had
It's
a good
wrong.
life. I'm just joking.
Yeah, that's why it's funny. I'm saying, like, you should. There's certain ways to do things that are they're evil. I don't know. They're evil. You are maybe manipulating. I'm not saying Mike Allen is doing this. Although I don't know that Mike Allen wouldn't do this, because at the end of the day, he wants the money. Fine. There's certain ways to manipulate the transaction to make the customer feel a certain way that is, I feel, is skeezy.
Look,
And I think sometimes when you're asking about the dog and you're like, oh, the dog, how's Fluffy? And you don't care about Fluffy. You only care about Fluffy because you're trying to up your ARO. I think that's skeezy too. Now, I'm not asking about Fluffy because I don't care about Fluffy, but also I know that I'm not going to ask about Fluffy just to up my ARO. It is what it is.
Look, I'm not going to say anything bad. I love the guy to death. And so Mike Allen, right? It's really just because he's an extremely insecure human being, okay? He's had a brother that's far superior to him his entire life, okay? Dude was a fighter pilot and is now like a big dog at Delta. And so his dad always told him that the shop is never going to do more than this. And Mike has always been trying to just get his dad to say, I'm proud of you, son. And so
Is that what we all have daddy issues, and that's what it is at the end of the day?
it must be.
Maybe if you just sold the yellows, maybe he'd
Yeah.
that revenue.
He could get there. See, I'm telling you.
I'm sorry, Mike.
His dad would say thank you. His
I
dad would say I'm proud.
They don't sell it's not that they don't try to sell the yellows. They don't estimate the yellows to try to shorten the estimating window time.
And
okay?
I can see how that would make sense.
And then they don't want to overwhelm the customer, because if it's a yellow, it's not immediate, right? It doesn't need to be immediately done. It's something that can be done, or it's a maintenance item, or it's a, hey, this will prevent something later down the road, or just something to that effect. It's not if you drive out of here without getting this done, the car's going to explode and you're going to die. So he tries to just put the reds in there so the customer understands that this is the immediate condition of the car. Like, these things immediately need to be done, and this is the price tag to it. Once you start adding the yellows and the greens and all that, it starts to rack up, and then it's a $7,000 estimate. And then this customer could have left here with a $2,500 repair. The car been perfectly safe, not peak reliability, but at least they are made aware of the yellow and the green items. Then they drive off. But the red at least got done for the $2,500. You collected the $2,500. They left in a safer vehicle. Everybody wins. As opposed to giving them a $7,000 estimate that has absolutely everything. And then the customer's like, oh, I'm just going to go get something else.
My pushback to that is that I feel like if I don't give them the yellows and I go make that repair, or if I don't give them the yellows and they go down the road with this idea that I just spent X dollars on the car and I'm in good shape, I don't feel like it's
They're going to
fully
feel that way
transparent.
anyway.
I think it's important to, and I want to be very careful here. It's important to know when you're presenting this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a line where it becomes for your customer, and you cross that line, and it's no longer about the customer.
Yeah.
Okay. And for me, that line is before we work on the car.
Yeah.
Before we touch that car. Okay. I feel it's very important to let that customer know what we know about that car.
Yeah.
That way they can make an informed decision so that they can spend that $7,000 or decide to go and get something else. They're going to make that decision with our guidance as well, based on what we talked about with the discovery conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. What are their hopes and dreams of the car? What are their plans? Are they going to run it into the ground?
Who's making that discovery conversation? Is it Kylie having that conversation, or
The majority is Kylie.
Yeah.
So so she's the first point of contact at the counter and the phone, and from there, our advisors, which we got some new ones. Jason just started this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he pretty much stepped in a little bit and did some good work for us. But yeah. So getting off track. Priscilla, Jason, Samantha, they will pretty much back up Kylie, and they'll do the discovery conversations. Brenna, she's our parts manager. She handles the phones as well. So any one of them will do the discovery conversation, and we take those notes, and just like the dog's name, we'll write that in Shop-Ware, and that way everybody knows it, so we can refer back to that later on. And the important thing is to actually refer back to it.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't want to do that discovery conversation just to check off a box and
then
move
not
on
use
and
the
go and
data.
sell everything
Yeah.
to them. That's not what this is all about.
Yeah.
Okay. It's about taking that information. Our technicians still do the same thing. Doesn't matter what their outlook is on the car. We still have a requirement to responsibility to make that car safe, reliable, and efficient, and make recommendations based on that. So they're going to do the same thing no matter what. What changes is what the advisor presents to the client.
Based on what they want to accomplish, right?
Yeah. And, let's say, they're not interested in doing any maintenance or anything else. They're looking at keeping the car for another year. We all know that changes, right? So we don't not estimate on that stuff. We're going to estimate on everything, and we may have that $7,000 estimate, but we're going to prioritize it, and we're going to focus on these three things here. And it's going to be Mr. Customer. As we discussed, your priorities are to do X, Y, and Z. Based on those, what we have there, this is what we recommend to do. Okay, I have some other recommendations down on the bottom here. You're welcome to take a look at it. I estimated on those just so that you are aware in case your needs change, so you know what you're looking at investing into the car. But this is what's important. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important to put that out there with a price tag for everything on there. Obviously, there's a line, right?
Yeah.
We get that clapped out 92, Audi A4. That's just whatever. There's not even a 92 Audi A4. What am I talking about? But you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
Audi A4s were clapped out from the factory, just so you know.
No, they're not.
I'm driving one.
Yeah.
It's got 30,000 miles on it. Every warning light on the dash is on.
That's because the right person's not working on it and servicing it.
what was the best A4? The second gen, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I'm going to say the second gen.
I don't know.
Second gen S4 with,
Yeah.
with the V8.
Dude.
Yeah,
Those
things
were slick.
Yeah.
So Mikey has one. You have
Good.
to ask Mike tomorrow. Ask him about his S4. So, yeah, he's got a nice one. So it was one of our clients that I bought from him, and it was sitting for a while. Bought it, serviced it up, and as we're finishing servicing it up, he says, "You know what? I think I want to sell this." So, but Mike ended up with it.
I see.
Yeah,
I'll have to ask him about
it's
that.
a nice car. So
I'll have to ask him about that. I'm going to change gears a little bit. A few years back, you and I were having some hard conversations. We were talking about your mom, and
don't make me cry.
I'm going to do my best not
Touch.
to. And you know, I just went through the same thing, right? And I appreciate a lot of the advice, right? Because it definitely came into play. And,
Likewise. Same.
And my kids got to spend some time with her and got to see her before all that happened. At that time, you were in a place that I think a lot of shop owners end up. And from my perspective, what I saw of that is that you had like found this success, right? And maybe success is not the word, but you found a plateau, or you found a spot where you had kind of achieved the things that you had in your head you wanted to achieve. Mm-hmm. And from my perspective, and it's something that I've ran into myself as the reason I bring it up, from my perspective, it seemed like you were almost kind of just floating in outer space at one point or another saying, okay, now what? Mm-hmm. Like, what do I do now?
Right.
Because like this was my purpose for so many years. Mm-hmm. I wanted this shop, and I wanted this shop to look like this, and I wanted this shop to do this. And then like right in the midst of that, you know, your mom had always been involved with the shop. Mm-hmm. And so now everything happens with mom. And it feels like, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Why am I even doing this? What is the purpose of all this?
Right.
Would you agree that's kind of how that felt right about that time, or something similar to that? Is that a...
Yeah. It's, I've never imagined being at this, a point like this in my life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've always just been just working, grinding,
Yeah.
fighting towards getting something to do something better.
Yeah.
And I never imagined to be able to step past that. And not to say that I'm not working hard, everything else now, but it's just different, you know. And I've definitely, it's definitely been kind of just trying to figure out where I'm going, what I'm doing, what direction we need to take the company and everything else. So
What was the thing that started kind of bringing that pathway back around, right? Because it felt like after a while you started finding your center again. You started finding that purpose to kind of like get back in gear and take a direction and go for it. What were the things that contributed to that?
I'm gonna be a fanboy for a little bit, but a lot of what was going on with Rick helped me, because they say some of the best form of learning is to teach, right?
Yeah.
And so getting more involved with Rick and 180 Biz, albeit in the background more so, and just kind of learning and getting more used to teaching, mentoring, training other people, that has kind of helped me look at that and say, man, I'm not doing this. I better get my crap together.
Yeah, if I'm going to tell somebody to do it, I better be doing it, right?
It's, pot and kettle, right?
Yeah.
So, that's helped out a lot. And, I still struggle with where what's the next step?
Yeah.
It's, there's a bunch of different directions that it can go. And, what I've kind of decided upon is that no matter where I'm going, I need to have a good, solid, just unbreakable company.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my focus is now. Okay. It's just, we have a really good team in place. We have good, solid foundation and base and everything, but how do we build upon that? Whether it be, replicating it, teaching that to somebody else, whatever. So, my focus right now is to, just continue to build that and get everything really solid in the back end.
Right. To get it squared back up. Well, I think that's what happens to a lot of shop owners, right? Is that they go through that period like you, and you say, well, I've achieved it. I'm here. I've gotten here. Now what? What do I do with it? What's my purpose? What is? And they don't realize that the whole time they have to be holding the shop accountable. They have to be holding staff accountable.
Right.
So one day they turn around and look, and it all fell apart. right?
Absolutely.
And so it's like, well, I've accomplished it, I've achieved it. I commented on a post last night, and it was a shop owner talking about the fact that he had shared this post, and he had accomplished a fleet account of 300 vehicles, right? And then it was a memory, and he shared the memory, and he said, I just lost this account today. And it was like a 6 or 7 year old post, right? And he said it was because of a staff member. And everybody in my circle told me that I was too hands off, that I was burnout, and that I had just delegated everything to the people in the shop, and that people were not getting the experience they should from the shop. And he said, so I lost a multi-million-dollar contract or agreement with these people because of one staff member. And I just thought that was so insane, because like as shop owners, we tend to, and I hear techs and I hear advisors talk about it sometimes. I think the number one reason that we do it is we get burnt out and we get like tired of the stress and the pressure, and we're like, somebody comes in and just runs the shop and they do an okay job of it, and we're like,
Just
okay,
run away.
sounds good.
Absolutely.
Let it burn.
Yeah. And, to that, I mean, I have something similar with a fleet. And I think it comes down to, the amount of proactive and reactive that we have in us. Okay. Being Euro focused, we don't have a lot of fleets and everything, but that wasn't always the case. When we moved out of Mertztown into West Coastville, where Adam and Allied is now, there we had a really big domestic and Asian presence.
Right.
So, we took on a couple of fleets and everything, and one was a really good one. And, we lost that one. It's by me being reaction, being reactive. It's they had a fleet manager who just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And the guy who ran the local store kind of knew that, and he was kind of able to keep him away from me. And one time he was, things were just out of sorts a little bit. And so that fleet manager reached out directly to inquire about something. And I just did not like that tone. And it just set me off. And that reaction took away $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, something like that. And I know that's not a lot, and for a lot of fleet shops, but it was a lot for us.
Right.
So it's that's it happens, and you gotta. I think the proactive versus reactive is very important, and just with everything we're talking about now, as soon as you start to become reactive to everything, that's when shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, buddy. I'm telling you what, I learned that lesson.
So you're not going to take your hands off the reins and let the manager run the thing?
No, I'm absolutely going to let him run it. I'm going to get out of the way and just let him do whatever he wants to do. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Is it exhausting for you still?
Some days more so than others, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but, it's... I'm really lucky to have, Mike with us because,
he's a legit guy.
He is, it's, and he truly and honestly wants to do good. But he comes from that background that he's a doer. He's a get shit done type of guy. And being a manager is a different role. It's a different responsibility.
Right.
We no longer have to get that done. We now need to empower our team to get that done.
Right.
And and lead them and grow them. So while it's a struggle at times, it's just knowing that he's got that drive and desire to want to do this.
Yeah.
It makes it, when you step back and you get frustrated over something, you think, man, I know he wants to do better, and if I can just figure out how to properly teach him and educate them, him, he's going to get it. And
what type of training do you do for him? What's the training profile or strategy for your manager?
So we don't have anything specific. He's been working with Rick. Rick's been developing a manager training program.
Right.
And, he's been kind of using Mike to help build on that.
Right.
To work through some things. So, we're working with that there, and then just looking at some different opportunities, whether it be podcasts, books, different little training venues and things like that for more leadership guidance.
Right. Right.
Because, leadership is just so important.
Yeah.
You can learn to be a manager and get all kinds of training and everything, but if you don't have that ability to lead your team, you're just not. It's not going to work.
The guy that I keep talking about, the Billy Ray Taylor guy that I said we're going to have on the show next week when we get back and record remotely. One of the things that his book is about, I started listening to the book because I thought, well, if we're going to have him on the show, I should be able to, and his entire concept of management is I have to make sure if I delegate a task, they understand who owns that task. Right. And that reel I shared the other day, he said, if two people own the dog, then the dog doesn't get fed because everybody says, well, I thought you fed the dog. No, I thought you fed the dog. He said, so the whole thing that changed that Goodyear factory in Fayetteville was the fact that he gave ownership and then said, you own this.
Right.
This is yours. This is your task. Nobody else is going to own this. Nobody else is going to do this. This is solely your task. You have to handle this. That is something that I have been terrible at.
Right.
Because what happens is I get nervous it's not going to get done, and I just jump in and do it, right? And I'll never forget, and I recognize this now when I was working for my brother at the hospital. He asked me to show, I think it was a radiologist, how to do something on their PC. And I said, you click here, click here, click here, click here, click here, then go here, type this in, click here, do this, click here, do this, click here, do this, click here, do this. And I turned around and looked, and they were standing there going, we didn't see any of that. And I'm like, okay, let me show you again. Click here, click here, click here, click here, click here. Because in my head, that's how I move. I move fast. I move through things like that. I have found I do not have the ability to slow down and teach somebody how to do something. I try.
Right.
And I like try to slow myself down, and I blow it up. I've downloaded this app called Scribe to try and help. Hopefully it can record that fast, right? But that's how I work. I don't know what else to do.
I tried that for about 30 seconds.
It didn't work?
It's somewhere in the background. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Maybe it'd be better for you.
This is like a web app, and it records your screen as you go. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I've not used it at all. I just downloaded it. How does it work? Tell me about it.
It's been so long. I just know every once in a while when we have a user-based, server-based. I don't know what our system is back at the shop, but we have, everybody has their own logins, and every time I log into a different computer for the first time, I get this Scribe thing pops up, and it's like, what is this? But yeah, it records your movements and everything within to help teach and replicate, guide, whatever you want to. But
I'm gonna have to try it and just see if it actually works.
That works fine for a computer, but like, how do you rack a car properly so you don't die? Is it gonna describe that?
Somebody needs to teach it.
Yeah,
right?
Ask
Well,
Eric.
that's what I'm saying. The Scribe's not going to do that for you. What do you mean, ask Eric?
That's what I tell him. I don't know. Ask Eric. I don't know. Ask Eric. I don't know.
What's Eric telling
Eric's
him?
the guy to teach.
Yeah.
That's fine, but what's Eric telling him?
I can't repeat anything Eric would tell him on this show. They'll cancel us.
That was supposed to be the thing with like Trainial and Learning LMS or Training LMS, whatever the other company was. The
Didn't Seth have a big
Trainial.
one like that? That was
He
like,
had developed a full like manual.
I was going to sell it or something. He may still be going to do that.
I don't know.
Turn on the light switch.
Turn on the light
off
switch.
the light switch.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can handle that. Well, Tom, what's next? What have you figured out? What
He said he was what he's doing. He's teaching and mentoring, and he's found
Obviously, I know.
fulfillment in that, and he's having a good time.
Obviously, I know that. I'm just asking him, like, what's the plan?
You're gonna open
from
a
here?
second shop?
I don't know.
That means no.
That's the
We've been talking about that for every bit of 4 years at
Really?
this point. It's been, do I go into this? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do this?
and that's where I'm at. I just I'm preparing for the ability to go anyway. So with what we're doing right now at the shop, I got some big ideas that I'm not willing to share yet. Okay, but getting my foundation really solidified and in place, that will help this.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of that, I'm definitely getting more involved with the coaching with Rick and everything. So we're going to take a couple bigger steps in the near future with that there, and again, that's going to help me as well as others because I'm going to be learning while I'm teaching and training. So there's that part there. I'm definitely going down that path. The multi-shop, I'm putting the processes in place for if I decide. I'm at a point where I don't want to keep on working like I've worked my whole life.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to step back and do some traveling with Christy and maybe incorporate some work with that travel, visiting other shops, things like that. Maybe some training, but also just take some time off. Yeah. And if I am looking to go multi-shop, if I'm looking to get more involved in the coaching and everything, something else needs to, I can't just replace this with that,
right?
Because I'm never going to be able to go and do that traveling that Christy and I want and what she deserves.
For sure.
So
no, 100%. And I think that is something that so many shop owners, they never plan for it. They never look at it and say, I'm going to get here.
Yeah.
Was it Ziegler that said someday right? Like one day I'll just be there and I'm going to accomplish this. If I just work enough and I just do this. And I see a lot of guys who say, well, I just have to fix enough cars. I just have to fix enough cars. And it does not happen unless it's an intentional movement, right? I'm going to plan to do this and I'm going to put a date on it that I'm going to do this, right? I think I've
I
decided.
just need to go to more conferences. Then it's work related. You go to a conference, you have a nice time. For example, Orlando.
Yeah. Last
It's a
one
good
was
time.
St. Louis. That was
St. Louis. Did you go to the Arch?
yeah.
The Arch is a good time.
Yeah. We went to the Arch.
It's interesting. Lewis and Clark, they have a whole thing down there on Lewis and Clark. You're a history guy.
Yeah.
Well,
I loved it out. I wasn't in love with the area. I was on edge the whole time I was out there.
St. Louis?
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Kansas City's good.
I was.
Kansas
There was
City.
some dude was following Christy and I. And
In St. Louis?
Yeah, finally.
What part of St. Louis did you go into? The north side. You went too far north, didn't you?
That was from the Arch. Yeah, how familiar are you?
Yeah, I live there.
Okay, the cathedral.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So we were coming past the cathedral there, and they must have just been having some type of group there, and so there's a lot of people in that area. And one guy's like, "Hey, I'm just going to follow you guys," and it was he was, and so finally, the crazy part was when we got up to the stadium there where it's gets a lot more people around.
Yeah.
That's when he started getting more aggressive. He actually was starting to come up towards, because I was kind of playing the using my peripheral vision a little bit just so I could see what was going on and watch. Wherever I was, he was on the other side of Christy. Okay, and so we got up into that area and there was a lot more people, and all of a sudden he started, when I saw him getting closer, I kind of grabbed her out of the way and, just confronted him then. And he's like, made up some kind of stuff and kind of disappeared. But I was like, man, that was crazy. And Eric Bach. Their son was there with us. Megan and Eric's son was there, and somebody was following him around, just kind of walking in that.
Eric's
little
packing.
area.
He doesn't have to worry about anything.
No, he's from New York. I don't know if he can.
No, he can't in New York, but in St. Louis, everybody's carrying in St. Louis, including the homeless people.
Yeah, pretty quick.
But it was a neat conference. That was a Rick Live event. That was the last.
Oh,
one we
okay.
went to.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
That was good.
Yeah.
Went to visit Greg Ritter.
Oh, nice.
Paula.
His new shop looks
That
really
thing
nice.
is really sweet. He did a really good job.
Yeah,
with that.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful.
But
shop.
that's what 2 hours from St. Louis. That's a haul, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think Paul and Gus were an hour and a half. Greg was 2 hours, or vice versa, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a good time. They both got really good shops.
Yeah, for sure.
So he needs to find shops in
nicer areas.
nicer.
Yeah,
Memphis.
Yeah, that's what he's going to find a whole bunch of shops in Memphis, whole bunch of shops in Baltimore, whole bunch of shops.
yeah, Baltimore. That's where it's going on there.
Yeah, it's a rough place.
There's this guy. This is real. The guy was just dropping map markers on Baltimore, and he's like everybody kept messaging him going, "You're not going to find a nice area in Baltimore. Just anywhere on the map, just drop it in Baltimore and then look." So he kept pulling it up and go bloop, and then he'd zoom in and do the street view, and he's like, "Ooh, okay, but let's try over here. Bloop, ooh, that's not nice. Bloop, oh, this looks okay. Oh, no." He kept doing it. He couldn't find a nice area of Baltimore.
I saw some statistics the other day that said everybody's moving out of cities anymore, right? Like the cities are depopulating at an astonishing rate, and a lot of it's because of that.
That they're trash? Yeah.
St. Louis, that was just so weird. I mean, it's just how empty that place was.
Yeah,
So St. Louis, that's always been that way. So the downtown area is so grossly mismanaged. When this was, I don't know, 15 years ago, they had a big mall downtown. It was an outdoor. They had the Union Station. It was all nicely done up. They had just built the stadium, brand new there, and then there was a big downtown mall, and there were a lot of little restaurants, and just there was stuff going on downtown. I don't know what they did. They started overtaxing them, whatever. The mall became unsustainable, and they started closing up, and it became like this like big thing where this giant facility with 3 stores inside of it, and it became an area where like hoodlums would just come hang out inside all day long and just bother patrons, stuff like that. And so nobody would go in there. It became sketchy. And then they kind of shifted everything to Union Station, and they're like, oh, we're just going to develop this thing. And then that turned into a whole thing where everything was closing up in Union Station too. Right. They couldn't find a nice area. Now, there's no nice area of St. Louis. There's just nicer areas of St. Louis. And then if you go further out, there's more affluent suburbs. The hoity-toity areas, they're not bad, but they're not interesting and eclectic and like what you expect to find in a nice city, with nice little restaurants, locally owned, nice, just places to visit, things to go see. St. Louis don't have any of that. It is a cesspool. Great Italian food in a sketchy area. You got to go down to the hill, but everybody ventures down there to go get some really good Italian food, and it's just Italian restaurant after Italian restaurant, just for miles, just one after another, and it's packed. But if you walk through there, or if you get on the maps and look through there, it looks rough.
Yeah,
it's not.
Salt Lake City,
but it looks rough.
Salt Lake City's kind of seems that way too.
Really?
Yeah. Have you been like into the city recently? It's
Salt Lake City. Who's in Salt Lake City for what?
Huh? When we go to
we go to Ogden. I like immediately beeline it to Ogden. I don't.
No, Salt Lake City's a nice city, but it seems like it's empty anymore. Just doesn't seem like there's anybody.
No, that's like sparsely populated.
Think so?
City. Yeah, there are a lot of people in Salt Lake City. It's not like Chicago or should be St. Louis, should be packed, but it's not because it's sketchy. It's always been sketchy. And the whole river, that should be done up nice. It should be looking the nines. It's not.
That was
you
crazy.
You will get. Yeah, nobody knows. You get to like, hey, this should be like this. This is the Mississippi. This is the gateway to the West. This should look awesome. It doesn't. It's dilapidated factories and tagged up buildings all up and down. And then on the other side, the Illinois side is even worse. The sketchiest part of America, I'm sorry, is up and down the riverfront on the Illinois side of the Mississippi by St. Louis. It is sketchy. It is just prostitutes and sketchy strip clubs. Yes, and yet lots of that. It is sketchy. There you go.
When we were out there, I think it just had heavy rains the week before. So you go down there by the riverfront, and there's these stairs to go down, and if you walk down the stairs, you're into the river.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. So when the river's low, you can walk down there, and when it's not, you just stay out of there.
Yeah. So it was.
But they don't. It's not like they've got all this. You've been to Branson?
No.
Branson's got something called the Landing, and there's this big river that runs through, and these beautiful bluffs, and they have built that all up with restaurants and like just goofy Branson stuff. But they have the shticky part of Branson in the middle of town with all of the shows and the goofy stuff and all the tourist trap stuff. But you go down to the Landing, it's really nice. 100% go down to the Landing, go hang up. And they have a restaurant by Paula Deen. My son bought a shirt there. Everything's better with butter. He walks around with his little poochie belly. Everything's better with butter. It's the cutest thing in the world. Anyway, they have like 4 things on the menu. It's all you can eat. 4 things on the menu. You pick one of the 4 things, and it's all you can eat. It's fantastic. Love that
and
restaurant.
Mashed taters.
They had the mashed taters, fried chicken. Like it's all Southern food. Yeah. And it's one price. You walk in there, you get the starter, you get the main, and then you get dessert. All for one price. All you can eat.
Are we going to go to Charlie's tonight?
I just looked. You can't make reservations.
What do you mean you can't?
Not through Open Table. I don't know. I didn't check the website.
Table. Come on, man.
Only Open Table. That's it. If you're not on Open Table, there's no reservations. I can't do anything with you. It's got to be. It's got to be. Yeah. Thank you. It's got to be really high end. Like we went to a couple restaurants in Kansas City. You couldn't make a reservation on Open Table. But it's frustrating because I want my points and everything's all in for. I want to hit one button and I'm done.
Send my invites there. Text my invites there.
And then I want to send I want to text the invites. I don't have to do anything. Yeah. Just all a couple clicks and I'm done. Instead of like, are you going to call? Call? I don't want to call anybody. I don't have to call, talk to them on the phone. I'm going to make a reservation.
It's miserable.
It hurts.
It's miserable.
It is. It's physically like, ugh. I shouldn't be a business owner.
You probably shouldn't.